Having survived the COVID-19 pandemic and being confronted with unfinished learning, learning loss, and the need to refocus the purpose of our schools and reach deeply into student identity and really personhood building and trying to put back some of that security that was lost because of the pandemic. We knew we had to do this school year differently. We had to reach the child, rebuild the relationship, make sure that Maslow's hierarchy of three basic needs was met to the best ability that we could as a school system, and then focus on the learning. Very quickly, I went to the culture and language teachers and aspect, and it's like, here's our chance to grow this. And this is a perfect opportunity to support them with very meaningful professional development. We can't even begin to scratch the surface of meaningful culture and language instruction and development in the school if we don't have this foundation of conversation and relationship with the people who are going to be doing that work. We need to actually know who you are, what do you think, what do you support, and how does this very important topic of historical trauma and recovery from that help us do our culture and language job better, and trying to understand the importance of relationship and trust and understanding history and experience before trying to push into a very delicate space that is and should be protected and maintained without being disrespectful, without being overly zealous or demanding when people and environment were not quite ready yet. And I think that's what the beauty of the pathway did for us. It helped us create that environment where people are now ready to engage in the difficult work of determining what needs to be taught, what needs to be focused on, who's going to do it, what resources do we have.
The get-togethers, the face-to-face learning, the small groups, the book was very good. It just opens your mind to other people's thinkings and how they interpret stuff.
The IDI assessment, I think it truly gave me a picture of who I am and why I do the things I do. When I first got the results, I was kind of like defensive about them, like it kind of shocked me. But when I got into realization and really looked at myself, it was the true image of me. It made a huge difference in just looking at myself and who I am as a person and accepting it. It allowed me to accept it. It took me a little bit, but when I was truthful with myself, I was able to accept who I am, how to become a better communicator with other people.
Learning about trauma and how it's a bodily response and how it relates on a personal level to my family, because there's some trauma care going on with my family right now. And in addition to that, just how I've seen our students impacted, how their responses are classic with what we read in the book for trauma, and how important it is that we know as educators that our students are going through these things. Truly, they can't help the responses that they're giving until we help them to go through them.
I think more or less the small group discussions, but even as we got into our class discussions, those were critical for me. The small group discussions, the group that I was in, there were two that really opened up, and shared some really personal things. And it got me to think, wow, if they can share those type of experiences with me, with the group, then maybe I should open up a little bit too.
I'm a gatherer of information, and I like being surrounded by everybody's point of view, different points of view, because I think if I'm going to be a better person, I do better if I know what other people are thinking or feeling.
As you look at, your students and and just seeing them as human beings, and and not just working towards human doings in the classroom. It's going to help you to feel more connected to your students, to their parents. But if you connect with other educators and connect with that book, with that the sharing circle, you know, that's been useful. So a better connection with the students is what I feel is you get out of this.
I could start the Shindamang Away Masanayagan by talking about this book. Ishinikade Nukumis or Ninjin. It's called My Grandma's Hand. It really helped me a lot, benefited from this. No? It helped me to look at the Americans different, because I've learned Gawino Asago Gay Te Gakwadikituat, because I learned that they have trauma also. He talked about what happened to the non-indigenous, the Europeans, you know, over there in Europe. Yeah, before they came over here to Turtle Island, Ishinikadamang, North America, what we call North America now. It's been difficult to have good relations, you know, Anishinaabe, Sagu, indigenous and non-indigenous. Misago o Kikendaso, and so this knowledge, Inki Wichi Egu, it helped me. Nawaj Chinisatotowagwa in the Dikit, I'll say, to understand more of them, you know.
The first part was standing back and taking the IDI test. And at first you're like, oh, I got this, and I know, you know, I really know I'm this open person. But at the same time, looking at the results, it really teaches you to have the Badain Dizawin humility. That part really kind of made me stand back and really take a good look at myself as a person, as an educator, a mother, a grandmother, and how am I going to use that to teach my own children, my students, our future, and getting the multiple perspectives of other people, and then using that to kind of adjust mine. Relating to the circle of trust, listening with every fiber and being present. That was another component that was important. And then the readings, being able to relate to other cultures, other backgrounds that have struggled throughout history as well.
I never really looked at it and valued the importance of a circle of trust until we went through the pandemic. You need somebody. You need a circle of trust. And not only just developing one, but making sure you have people in there like this, that you can trust, that could keep things confidential, that aren't going to judge you and things like that. But to let those emotions out instead of keep letting them build up. I think it's valuable in life, even let's say the pandemic never happened. It's still a valuable part of life. You should still have that circle of trust.
And we could create a cohort of folks who are now thinking and dreaming and believing in a similar fashion. Like, this is actually possible. And we can continue to do more. This is just the springboard to something greater in the future. Getting those people in a place where they can discuss and debate and dialogue and disagree and continue to learn all along that way. In so many of our school improvement documents, we've made reference to social emotional learning, or we've made reference to positive behavior interventions and supports. We've talked about and are starting a multi-tiered system of support. And we've often included culture and language as a part of that work, but then didn't dedicate time, resources, or influence to it. This Pathways changed all of that, because now my culture and language teachers are in the room with their principal all day for 5 sessions. It's never happened before.
There's so much I've learned from it that, you know, I'm excited for my staff to be a part of it.
If our adults, our educators, aren't dealing with their traumas, you know, then they can't help some of the things they do, you know.
We have to make sure our students know who they are, you know, where they're coming from. And a lot of times in our community, people say that's a family issue, and I agree with that. You know, I'm not going to disagree with that point, but I think our role as educators too, because I've actually heard this. I've heard this from an employee in my system that, you know, when she went away to college and she brought, you know, her children with her to go to college, you know, and her son came home from school and said, you know, Mom, you know, did you know I'm Indian, or did you know I'm Native? You know, our children coming from all different parts of our community, but do they know that they're a Native person? Do they know, and do they know what that means? You know, so how do I impress that upon our staff to get that knowledge base out there even more so than I already have? So.
There's been, you know, just so much that has been put upon our people, but yet how we can rise from that, and knowing that, you know, we have a place at the table just as well as anybody else does. So that I think the students have seen, as far as talking with them, I think that they have seen that that there's a place for them, you know, at any place that they want to go. And I think they've enjoyed the sharing circles, and they're a little shy, but also at the same time they're glad to be able to speak their thoughts, you know, and sharing themselves and just feeling connected more to myself and to each other. So into the school as well, you know, knowing that what they're going to say, what they're going to do is, you know, is going to be appreciated.
So I'm learning, and not to be judging, you know. I am learning that. So no, as I do taman iwe, as I do that, no wajke eshi manachi atu anishin ishnabe manachi agwa. I find I can be gentler, or have more respect for my fellow human being. That's what I've been learning in here, you know. As we were taught not to fix each other. Yeah, you know, go away. And up in a, is it Chigayangkipan? Is it Chigayangkipan? I used to, is it Chigayamban? I used to do that all the time. Gayabigo and still today sometimes. But now I've learned it's not good.
Really, the pathway has taught me to be more mindful, more respectful for the different beliefs and perspectives that are out there. We tend to assume that because we're from the same community or same religious group or traditional or whatever it may be, that we all think alike. And we don't. We all come from different backgrounds. Even if we're from the same, there's still some difference there. And so just being able to appreciate where they're coming from and allowing them to be themselves, and to have trust that I am going to be open-minded and I am going to listen to them. If I'm modeling it, they can start picking it up, and maybe they'll be doing the same down the road when they're interacting with their peers or other teachers, just to see a different point of view.
Oh, you know, I think about the circle of trust, the listening, you know, listening at those deep levels, you know, and building that community of trust, how important that is, and working with school improvement teams. I mean, when you're starting to look at data and you're starting to look at, you know, how are our schools doing, it can get very personal. And, you know, so we have to have that level of trust where we say, we're not focusing on how you're teaching, we're focusing on, you know, each kid, kid by kid and skill by skill. If we focus on that student and what they're doing and not on us, then we're going to get better. You know, having those tough conversations with school improvement teams, it's very hard. But if we don't know our why we are here and what our purpose is, then we have to keep that focus. Because if we're going to go in there and we're going to ask teachers to do all of this and to give all of this, you know, they really have to know their why. It's about change so that we make things better for our students. That has to be our why.
And I'm hoping that it helps our culture and language teachers and even our principals see the power they have and hold to create. And I know that teams cannot be effective if there is no trust. Sometimes the work we have to do is not fun. Sometimes it's not entertaining. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it brings up things that we'd rather not discuss or re-experience. But this Team of Champions work helped build those kind of connections. We can get so caught up in our work responsibilities that we forget the person who's behind the office, the person who's inside the classroom. And it's important in our work to remember that our principals and our teachers are also people.
Get ready to have your mind blown, because you think that, you know, like I said, you think that you know everything, you know yourself, and honestly, we really don't until it's put in front of us and we're tested. There's room to learn and to grow, and as an educator, it's a lifetime, and it's not only improving ourselves, but for our students as well.
And I saw basically, you know, grandmother's hands, and just automatically thought, okay, you know, it's going to be about native grandmother working with her grandkids and whatever, you know. And I start reading the story, and it's like, okay, I was way off on that, where the name actually comes from, and the grandmother working in the cotton fields, and you know, those things. But it also made me realize, okay, even though we're so different, or we see ourselves as so different from all these other races and other cultures and people from different areas, you know, thinking about the name of the book's like, okay, we're not all that different.
Well, we understand better, I hope now, some of the historical traumas or the other influences in their life, and how they view the world through that lens.
I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. And I've been really, really busy, but I would honest, I've got no regrets, and I'd highly recommend it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
I know a lot of other schools are looking for this also. You know, they're, you know, with that SB 2304 that's out there, you know, they're looking, they're searching, they want to know, you know, if what they're doing is, you know, right or not. We're all looking, we're all searching, and I think that it's so important to do things, you know, other than what you've been doing, because the students deserve it.
This is going to change the world. Oh, Kendaso, and this knowledge. I knew Kichigego. This was a big thing, important. And in Kishikan, I couldn't wait to get to the end and, you know, keep practice. Ani, we kwache tuyan geko pematis yan all the rest of my life to practice. Kapike Kendaso yan and what I learned in here. So so I thank you so much.
I'm going to say it's awesome. Charla and Scott, yourself and Scott, have been very supportive and constructive in a good way from the beginning of this journey and to the end. If there was something that wasn't explained, you took the time to explain it in a mindful and respectful way to where we could relate and understand where you were coming from, but also to help us be great humans, but professional as well towards our peers and towards our students. So having that in mind, building a community, you know, among our students, among our peers, among our own community, and networking out to other people, and kind of breaking down the barriers so that we're able to relate and maybe start to heal and learn more and not be so judgmental, because everybody has their struggles. It just looks a little bit different.
If I had one final thought to share about the Team of Champions pathway, it would be that we need more time to do this. 5 sessions is not enough. You know, 6 sessions, 8 sessions. I know I have one principal who's thinking about an all year long experience, which I think would be great. The work that we do in Indian country is not easy in regards to education. And it takes a special group of people who are willing to stand up, accept responsibility for that call of duty, and then begin to do something about it. We are definitely more confident in our abilities to even encounter that challenge. We definitely move forward out of the Team of Champions pathways, understanding that we have the ability, and because we've gone through this process of learning about each other and understanding what makes each other tick and what also challenges us, I think it puts us in a better position for everything else that schools need. You send your kids, we've got it. We have the skills, we've got the tools, we have the practices, we have the strategies, but more importantly, we have the people that are willing, ready, and able to meet the students that show up. I would much rather do that work with the people that I have been through Team of Champions with than try and do it alone.
I just want to say it's just been an awesome experience, and it will change your thinking and probably your life professionally and personally, and the sky's the limit with it. So, Team McGuire.